The spaceport on Targon 6 was not a place for kindness. It was loud, dirty, and full of people who only cared about credits. Traders shouted prices, machines hissed steam, and shady deals happened in dark corners. But today, the biggest crowd had gathered for one thing, the slave auction. Dozens of beings were lined up on the metal stage. Humans, aliens, hybrids. Most were tired, dirty, and scared. One of them stood out. She was an alien woman with silver skin and glowing violet eyes. She was quiet, her hands tied, her eyes staring at the ground. Her name, according to the listing, was Vexa. "She's useless," someone in the crowd said. "Looks broken, doesn't even look up." "Probably mute," said another. The auctioneer, a fat man with cybernetic eyes, slapped her on the shoulder. "This one's docile," he said. "No trouble at all. Works silently. Eats little, strong enough for heavy lifting." The crowd wasn't impressed. They were more interested in stronger workers or ones with special skills. Vexa didn't move. Like she looked calm, like she didn't care what was happening. But if anyone had looked closely into her eyes, they would have seen something strange. Not fear, not sadness, focus. In the back of the crowd, a man watched her silently. His name was Captain Reed Marlowe, a former Special Forces soldier from Earth. He was tall, quiet, and carried the calm air of someone who had seen many battles. He had come to Targon 6 for a transport job, but something about Vexa held his attention. "She's not what she seems," he whispered to himself. He had seen those eyes before, not exactly like hers, but in the eyes of soldiers. Real ones. The kind who had seen war, lost everything, and still stood tall. "Starting bid, 1,000 credits." The auctioneer shouted. Silence. "Fine, fine. 800. Still no bids." The auctioneer rolled his eyes. 600? Someone in the back laughed. "You should pay us to take her." Marlowe stepped forward. 200, he said. Heads turned. The auctioneer blinked. 200. For her fine? Anyone else? No one answered. Sold. To the human with bad taste? The auctioneer joked, handing over a small control device. Marlowe took it without a word. He walked up to Vexa. She didn't flinch. She didn't even look at him. "You're coming with me," he said. Back on his ship, the Bastion Marlowe led her to a clean room with a bed, food, and water. He removed the control device from her collar and threw it away. She looked at him, really looked for the first time. "You're free to speak if you want," she said nothing. Days passed. Vexa didn't talk, but she worked. Quietly, efficiently. She cleaned the ship, organized tools, and somehow repaired a broken panel no one else could fix. The rest of the crew whispered about her. Creepy alien. Never sleeps. Fixes. Things better than the engineer. Marlowe just watched. One night he checked the ship logs. Someone had rerouted the navigation system, avoiding a dangerous asteroid field they hadn't even seen coming. When he asked the pilot, he said he hadn't touched it. Only one person had access. Vexa. He confronted her gently. "The nav route." She nodded. "Why?" "Safer path," she said. It was the first time she spoke. Her voice was calm, soft, but full of control. "You know how to navigate." She nodded again. Marlowe stared at her for a moment. "Who are you?" Looked at him but didn't answer. Later that week, trouble came. A drunk crew member named Krell got aggressive. He cornered her in the cargo bay, thinking she couldn't fight back. The rest of the crew heard the noise and ran in. Krell was on the ground, groaning in pain. 6 broken bones. No one saw exactly what happened. Vexa stood nearby, calm and untouched. "Attacked me," Krell shouted. "She defended herself," Marlowe said, looking at Vexa's expression. Not angry. Not shaken, just ... calm. Trained. That night, Marlowe began searching old files on his ship's database. He looked up ancient symbols like the one tattooed on the back of Vexa's neck. A circle with 3 blades pointing outward. After hours of research, he found something. The Aetheri Blades, an elite warrior caste from a long-lost alien civilization, known for silence, strategy, and deadly skill. They had vanished after a brutal civil war nearly 50 years ago. Most believed they were all dead, but one had survived. She had been sold like a broken tool, and now she was on his ship. The Bastion flew through deep space, away from the chaos of Targon 6. Inside, things were quiet but not peaceful. Captain Reed Marlowe sat in the control room, watching the stars pass. His thoughts were with the strange woman now living aboard. His ship, the XA. She had spoken only a few words since joining the crew, but those words stayed with him. Her actions spoke louder than anything else. She moved like a soldier. She fixed things without asking. She walked through the ship like she had lived there all her life, but most of all she was watching, always watching. Like a wolf in a cage, Marlowe said to himself. In the engineering room, Chief Tyra scratched her head. The ship's engines were running better than ever. It's too well. Someone had changed the calibration settings, making the power flow smoother. I didn't do this, Tyra muttered. Did you? She asked her assistant. He shook his head. No, ma'am. But maybe. The new girl? Tyra frowned. She's not even an engineer. Still. She was in here yesterday, alone. Tyra walked to the wall panel. The changes were smart, efficient, professional. She had been working on this problem for weeks, and the silent alien had solved it in a day. Who are you? She whispered. That evening, the crew gathered in the mess hall. They talked, laughed, and played cards. Vexa sat in the corner eating quietly. She didn't join the conversations, but she listened, carefully. One of the younger crew members, Jace, walked over to her. You always eat alone? He asked. She looked at him and gave a small nod. You don't talk much either. No need, she said. Jace laughed awkwardly. Fair enough. He leaned in a little closer. So, ... Where are you from? She paused. Far from here. That's not an answer, he teased. She looked at him, her eyes cold. It's the only one you'll get. Jace stepped back, a bit nervous now. Okay, no offense. Across the room, Marlowe watched the interaction. He wasn't the only one noticing Vexa anymore. Some of the crew respected her, some were afraid. Others were just curious, but no one trusted her yet. 2 days later, a warning alarm rang through the ship. Pirates incoming, shouted Tyra. 3 ships appeared on the Radagral Hounds. Ruthless space raiders known for attacking small ships like the Bastion. They were fast, cruel, and heavily armed. We can't outrun them, shouted Jace. Prepare to fight, Marlowe ordered, gripping the controls. Weapons powered up. Shields activated then. Something strange happened. The pirate ships started moving strangely off course, out of formation. One of them turned away completely. What are they doing? Tyra asked. They're losing coordination, Marlowe said. Something's wrong on their side. Moments later, a transmission came in static and shouting, and silence. First ship disabled, the computer said. What? Who did that? No one answered. Suddenly a figure appeared on the security screen, moving through the lower decks of the pirate ship. She was fast, almost a blur, a silver shadow. The cameras were shaky, but Marlowe recognized her. Vexa, she's on their ship, Tyra gasped. How? Jace shouted. She must have taken the launch pod, Marlowe said. On the screen, Vexa. Move through hallways, dropping enemies without hesitation. Her hands moved like lightning strikes to the neck, joints, chest. No wasted motion. No sound. She was unarmed, but deadly, in 5 minutes. The pirate ship went dark. The other 2 ships turned and fled, back on the Bastion. The crew stood in silence as Vexa returned through the airlock. Her clothes were torn. Her arm had a burn mark. She walked calmly, like nothing had happened. Status. She asked. Marlowe walked toward her slowly. 3 ships. You destroyed one, scared the rest. She gave a single nod. You're not just a survivor, he said. You're trained. Military? Yes, she said simply. Special unit. She paused. I was Ithari Blade. Marlowe's eyes narrowed. He had heard that name before, in the ancient files. Stories told of the Athari Blades, an elite warrior caste from a planet called Atharka. They were said to be more than fighters. They were leaders, assassins, spies. But Atharka had fallen in a civil war decades ago. Everyone believed the Athari were dead. "You're one of them," Marlowe said. She nodded. "I was a commander, captured in battle, sold like an object. Hidden ever since." Marlowe stared at her in silence. The quiet alien woman he had bought for 200 credits was a warrior with a legacy. Why now? He asked, "Why show your power?" She looked at him with steady eyes. "Because your crew was in danger, and I don't allow good people to die for nothing." That night, the crew met in private. Some were afraid. Others were impressed. "She's dangerous," Jace said. "She took out a warship alone." "She saved us," Tyra argued. "If she hadn't, we'd be dead." Still another crew member said, "Can we trust her?" Marlowe stood up. "She could have killed every one of us. She didn't. She's here now, not as a slave, as one of us." Crew fell silent. In her room, Vexa sat alone, wrapping her injured arm. She stared at the stars outside the small window. Her mask was gone, her secret exposed. But inside her, the fire was just beginning to rise again. After the pirate attack, everything changed on the Bastion. Vexa was no longer just a quiet alien woman. Now everyone knew she was something more, a warrior, and not an ordinary one. Most of the crew stayed out of her way. Few still didn't trust her. But none of them questioned her skills anymore. In the command room, Captain Reed Marlowe stared at the screen, watching old footage from the pirate ship. It still amazed him. Vexa had moved like a ghost, silent, fast, deadly. He closed the video and leaned back in his chair. "She saved us," he said to himself. "But how deep does this go?" Later that day, Marlowe called Vexa to his private office. She walked in, her face calm, her arms crossed behind her back. "You know why I called you?" Marlowe said. "Yes." He tapped on a data pad. "I looked deeper into the symbol on your neck. It's the 3 blades. I found classified files. Warriors were more than just fighters. They were ... legends." Vexa didn't respond. "You were a commander?" "Yes," she said softly. "Commander of the 7th Blade Circle." Marlowe raised an eyebrow. "That sounds important." "It was." He leaned forward. "Then why were you captured? Does someone like you end up in chains?" Vex's eyes grew distant, like she was remembering something painful. "My world, Atharka, was betrayed from within. The Syndicate offered power to weak leaders. They wanted our land, our mines, our weapons. They turned my people against each other. The Blades fought back, but we were outnumbered. I was taken in battle, ... drugged, silenced, and sold." Alo nodded slowly. "You've been hiding ever since?" "I waited. I healed. I studied. Then you bought me. And I saw a chance." "A chance for what?" "To return, to fight, to reclaim my world." That evening, the crew gathered in the lounge. The mood was tense. Everyone knew what Vexa really was now. She stood in front of them, straight and tall. Not as a slave, not as a servant, but as a leader. "I am not what you thought," she began. "I wore silence like a shield. I let you believe I was weak. I was never weak." Jace crossed his arms. "So what now? Going to take over the ship?" Vexa tilted her head. "No, I have no interest in control, but I will not hide anymore." Chief Tyra stood up. "You saved us. That counts for something." Jace looked uncertain, but said nothing more. Marlowe stepped beside Vexa. "She's one of us now. She has something to tell us." Vexa nodded. "I want to go back to Atharka." A long silence followed. "You mean that planet that's under blockade?" Tyra asked. "Yes. That place is suicide," Jace muttered. "Only if we go in blind," Vexa replied. "I know the paths. I know the codes. I know how to break their systems from inside." Marlowe turned to the crew. "This isn't just her fight. Syndicate has destroyed worlds, enslaved people, and sold lives for profit. It won't stop. With her planet, Some crew members looked unsure. Others looked angry. "You want to start a war?" someone asked. "No," Vexa said. "I want to finish one." In the next few days, the Bastion took a new course toward the edge of Syndicate. Space. Vexa spent hours in the war room with Marlowe, planning, drawing maps from memory, listing names of people who might still be alive. She contacted old allies using secret codes, scattered Ithari, hiding on different worlds, waiting for a call that never came, till now. Some responded. One was Talvin, a former Ithari blade turned mercenary. He agreed to meet them on Nimura Station. When the Bastion landed, Talvin was waiting. He was older, with a long scar across his face, but his eyes lit up when he saw Vexa. "I thought you were dead." "I was close," she replied, "but not done." He laughed and shook her hand. "Then let's finish it." Back on the ship, more people joined. Old fighters, smugglers with a grudge. A rogue AI named Core 7, once part of the Ithari defense grid now, seeking revenge after the Syndicate wiped out its creator. The Bastion slowly became more than just a ship. It became a spark. A flame. A resistance. One night, Marlowe found Vexa standing alone on the observation deck, looking at a distant blue star. "You sure about this?" he asked. "Yes. You've changed things. My crew, my mission. Even me." She looked at him. "Change is the start of something better." Marlowe smiled. "You speak more now. You listen more now," she replied. He laughed quietly. "Fair enough." They stood there in silence for a while, both thinking the same thing. War was coming, but this time, the galaxy wouldn't be facing a quiet, enslaved alien. It would be facing the return of an I-3 commander. Cold and silent, Captain Reed Marlowe stood on the bridge, staring ahead at the blue-green planet that had once been full of life. It hard single coats 'cause it stood beside him. Her silver skin reflected the pale light of her home world. Her face was still, but inside her heart beat faster than ever before. "I never thought I'd see it again." "Shh," she whispered. The planet looked peaceful from space, but Vexa knew better. Beneath those clouds, the Syndicate controlled everything's cities, factories, weapons. The Ithuri temples were in ruins. Her people were either dead or enslaved. "It doesn't feel like home anymore," she said. Marlowe glanced at her. "Then let's make it home again." The plan was dangerous. Vex's old network of secret tunnels still existed beneath the capital city of Vorith Tal. She believed the Syndicate never found all of them. If they could get to the Ithari vault, they might find the last piece of her plan, the Crown Cora device that once powered the entire Ithari defense system. If they could restore it, they could call back every hidden Ithari warrior still alive. Across the stars, but first, they had to land. The Bastion entered the atmosphere in silence. Its engines were masked, its signal hidden. They landed deep in the desert plains, far from any city. Marlowe, Vexa, Talvin, Tyra, and Jace, geared up VEXA, led the way. Her memory was perfect. She walked through the dusty valleys like she had never left. They found the hidden entrance to the tunnel system under a broken statue, an ancient warrior's head half buried in sand. "Still here," Vexa said. She placed her hand on a small stone panel. It lit up. The floor opened. The tunnels were dark, damp, and filled with the scent of dust and rust. But Vexa moved through them with ease. Her feet knew the way. They were built by the first blades, she explained. Safe paths, emergency routes, all of them hidden. As they moved deeper, they passed carvings on the walls, symbols of strength, honor, unity. Jace stopped to look at one. "Your people really lived like this?" "Yes," she replied. "We lived by code, not by power." Tyra whispered, "That's rare these days." Suddenly, a sound echoed, a head metal against stone. They froze. Vexa held up a hand. Then she stepped forward. A figure appeared, a man in dark robes, his face hidden by a hood. "Vexa," the man said. She tensed. "I know that voice." The hood dropped. The man was old, his face worn by time and pain. Master Ren had once trained her. Now he looked tired. But alive. "I thought you were lost," she said. "We all were, after the fall. But some of us survived. We waited for the signal. We waited for you. She bowed her head. I'm here now. I need the core. Ren's eyes lit up. You still remember? Yes. I plan to activate it. He looked at the others. You? Trust outsiders? They saved me. Ren nodded slowly. Then follow me. Time is short. They walked deeper into the vaults through layers of stone and steel, till they reached a hidden chamber. In the center stood a small device shaped like a star, its crystal heart dark. Waiting. The crown core, Vexa said. Ren stepped back. Only one of the blades can activate it. It is yours now. Vexa placed her hand on the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then it glowed softly at first, then brighter. Light filled the room. The core spoke in an ancient voice. Command. Recognized. Blade Commander Vexa of the Seventh Circle. Activation complete. A pulse of energy shot into the sky through hidden antennas across the galaxy. Athari warriors hiding on ships, moons, and stations saw the signal light up their old comms. It had returned. Back in the tunnels, celebration was short. Move, Vexa ordered. The Syndicate will feel the signal. They will come. Explosions shook the tunnel entrance. They're here, Jace shouted. Syndicate troops poured in black armor, red visors, heavy rifles. Hold the line. Marlowe shouted. Returning fire, Vexa spun through the fight like a dancer, her hands and feet moving with perfect precision. Talvin fought beside her, sword in hand, laughing like it was his last day on any planet, but they were outnumbered. Fall back. Shouted to the western exit. They ran through narrow tunnels, dodging blasts and falling debris. At the final turn, they came face to face with a tall Syndicate officer in golden armor, Commander Luther. So, he sneered. The last blade shows her face. Vexa stepped forward. You destroyed my people. I gave them peace. She didn't wait for more words. She attacked. The fight was brutal. Luther was strong, fast, trained in anti-blade combat. But Vexa had something more. Purpose. With one final strike, she disarmed him and knocked him unconscious. The group escaped into the wild canyons as the core continued to send signals across the stars. More allies would come soon as they rested. Under the cold moonlight, Marlowe turned to Vexa. You did it. She shook her head. No, I started it. He smiled. Then let's finish it. The signal from the Crown Core spread quickly. Across the galaxy, hidden Athari warriors received the call. Ships, colonies, and secret hideouts buzzed with activity. The long-lost blades were waking from their silence. On the Bastion, the crew, prepared for what was coming. Captain Marlowe and Vexa stood in the war room, maps and data glowing before them. This changes everything, Marlowe said. Vexa nodded. The Syndicate won't wait. They will send everything to stop us. Tyra checked the ship's weapons. We'll need every advantage, paced nervously. I don't like the sound of this. None of us do, Marlowe said. But this is bigger than any one of us. Days later, a small fleet appeared at the edge of Syndicate space. They were slow and ragged, but they carried hope. From the shadows came ships of all kinds, fighters, transports, and battle cruisers, each marked with the old Iathari symbol. 3 blades crossed like a star. Talvin led the welcoming party. His rough voice echoed through the comms. Brothers and sisters, the fight is here again, the crew of the Bastion cheered. Inside the fleet's command ship, Vexa met with the leaders of the returning blades. They were warriors hardened by years of hiding and battle. One was Sarah, a fierce woman with a cybernetic eye. Another was Dax, a quiet sniper who never missed. They listened as Vexa explained the plan to free Ithaca and break. The Syndicates hold forever. Many will die, Sarah said. Are we ready? We don't have a choice, Vexa replied. But we will win. The fleet moved closer to Atharca, weaving through patrols and minefields. Every moment was tense. Suddenly alarms blared. Syndicate ambush. Ace shouted. Enemy ships surrounded them like a net. Marlowe's voice was steady. Form defensive positions. We fight. Lasers cut through the dark space, exploding shields and tearing holes. Vexa took command of a fighter squadron, leading daring attacks that broke through enemy lines. Her voice on the comms was calm and strong. Hold the line. Protect the transports. The battle raged for hours. Ships exploded in bright flashes, lighting up the blackness. On the ground, Ithari fighters prepared for their own fight. Vexa Marlowe and their team landed near the capital. They moved quickly, avoiding patrols, using the tunnels and secret paths. The city was quiet but deadly. Syndicate drones hovered in the air, watching every move. We have to reach the command center, Vexa said. Cut their communications. Inside the Syndicate's control tower, Vexa and her team fought through waves of guards. Sarah hacked into the systems. Disabling security and opening doors, Dax covered the rear. Picking off enemies with deadly precision, Vexa moved like a shadow, striking swiftly and silently. Finally, they reached the main control room. Vexa connected a device to the console to crown core, sending waves of energy to disrupt. Syndicate signals. The alarm screamed. Reinforcements coming, Jace warned. Outside, the battle continued to shift. Marlowe piloted the Bastion through a storm of fire. The ship shook, but held strong. Get the fighters back, he ordered. We can't lose this fight. One by one, the Ithari ships regrouped, pushing the Syndicate back. Back inside the control tower, Vexa faced a final enemy. Commander Luther recovered and angry. You cannot win, he hissed. We already are, Vexa replied. The fight was fierce. Blades clashed, sparks flew. In the end, Vexa's skill and determination won. Luther fell. With the command center under their control, the Syndicate's grip began to weaken. The hidden Ithari warriors rose up across the city, freeing prisoners, sabotaging weapons, and spreading the signal of hope. As dawn broke over Itharca, Marlowe looked out over the city. We did it, he said softly. Vexa smiled. This is only the beginning. The fight was far from over. But now, the blades were rising again. The first light of dawn touched the broken city of Itharca. Smoke still rose from burning buildings, but the air was filled with a new sound. The cheers of the free. Captain Reed Marlowe stood on a rooftop beside Vexa. Below them, the people of Itharca began to rebuild what was lost. The Syndicate's hold was broken, but the scars remained. We fought hard, Marlowe said, but what now? Vexa looked at the horizon. Now we build, not just a city, but a new future. The Ithari warriors gathered in the main square. The crowd was a mix of old fighters, freed slaves, and hopeful civilians. Vexa stepped forward, her voice strong. Today we are free, she said, but freedom is not given. It is earned. We must stand together to protect this world and all who live here. The crowd cheered, their voices rising like thunder. Marlowe watched as Vexa spoke. He had never seen such power, not just in her skill, but in her heart. She is more than a warrior, he thought. She is a leader. The new government began to take shape. Vexa and Marlowe worked with Ithari elders and representatives. From the freed people, their goal was clear: fairness, justice, and peace. But the threat of the Syndicate was not gone. Reports came in of enemy forces regrouping on nearby systems. We must be ready, Vexa warned. The Syndicate will try to take back what they lost. Marlowe nodded. Then we'll show them the strength of united worlds. Days passed. The Bastion became a symbol of hope. New warriors joined the crew, inspired by Vexa's courage and vision. One evening, Vexa trained with the new recruits. She moved with grace and power, teaching not just combat, but the values of honor and loyalty. A young recruit asked, Commander, will we ever be safe? Vexa paused. Safety is an illusion, but with courage and unity, we are strong. Meanwhile, the Syndicate was not idle. Their leaders planned a new attack, more powerful and ruthless than before, deep in a hidden base. Commander Luther, bruised but alive, met with Syndicate generals. This planet will be ours again, he said. The blades will fall. Back on Itharca, Vexa prepared for the coming storm. She and Marlowe led a council meeting with all the allied leaders. "We will defend our home," she declared. "Not with fear, but with hope." The council agreed to build defenses and train more fighters. But Vexa knew the final battle was still ahead. In the quiet moments, Marlowe and Vexa talked about the future. "Do you think the galaxy can change?" He asked. "It must," she replied. "Because if we don't change it, someone worse will." Marlowe smiled. "But then we fight for that change." The weeks went by, and the new Athari alliance grew stronger. Messages of freedom spread to other oppressed worlds. The Blade's signal became a symbol of resistance across the stars. Vexa received a message from a distant system another group, willing to join the fight. "We are not alone," she told Marlowe. "No, we're just beginning." One night, under the twin moons of Atharka, Vexa stood alone on a hill overlooking the city. She thought of her past, the battles, the loss, the slavery. But she also thought of the future. A future where no one would suffer as she did. Her hand touched the old mark on her neck, the symbol of the seventh blade circle. "I will protect this world," she promised quietly, "no matter the cost." Suddenly, the sky lit up with a distant flash. Enemy ships approaching. Vexa turned and ran toward the bastion. "Prepare for battle," she said, her voice calm but fierce. "This is just the beginning." The fight would be hard. The stakes higher than ever, but Vexa knew this truth. As long as the blades stood together, the galaxy had hope, and the new dawn was theirs to claim.